Hey guys, what's up? This is Wes from PCJews, and today I'm going to be doing a video that's different from my normal style of video. It's going to be starting off a series that I'm going to do analyzing carry junglers for people who are trying to gain elo and solo queue and don't trust their teammates. Normally my playstyle is to play tanks and like Lee Sin, tanky, like straight tank Lee Sin, Jarvan, Nautilus, Cho'Gath back in early season 3, Maokai, stuff like that. So this is a bit out of my element, but I still know a lot about Nocturne. I've been playing him a lot in solo queue, and I've been playing him for a long time. I really appreciate this champion and his what he offers to the team in terms of his ultimate, which is one of the most broken mechanics in the game. I'll get into that, and simply what he offers to himself in his damage and utility. But I guess I'll just start off with something more standard. I'll go into his runes and masteries. I'll start off with the masteries because those are a lot less controversial than his runes. I run 2190, picking up cooldown reduction, armor pen, attack damage, all that stuff. The reason I don't get attack speed is because I run attack speed in my runes, and you probably will disagree with that. Like, a lot of people believe that Nocturne should be used with armor pen because of the amount of attack damage that he gets from his Q, which is like a 55 attack damage buff at later levels in the game. So most people tend to believe that if you just get stacked armor pen on that, you can do a lot more damage to champions. And although I don't think that's false, I do think that attack speed, when viable, is a really good option for brawlers and duelers and stuff, because it's a really efficient way of outputting more damage. Like, obviously you want a lot of attack damage too, but attack speed is really good on a jungler, because whereas the laner has to worry about making trades and stuff in lane, like basic attack harass and like single spell trades and stuff, the jungler doesn't have to do that. Like, the jungler fights neutral creeps. Like, the jungler ganks, yeah, but 90% of the time you're just fighting neutral creeps, which don't actually benefit from flat AD over attack speed. So I like having the attack speed because of the increased damage to the creeps, the increased damage it offers to the people you're fighting against, and also because your Q, it's an attack damage buff, which means that when it's up, you're going to want to get off more hits. So if you can get off a ton of hits with your Q up, you'll do a lot more damage than if you only use your Q a couple of times, like use your Q's buff a couple of times and just let the rest of it go to waste on the wayside. So yeah, and another minor reason is the attack speed really helps us clear because it increases the amount of times that his passive ambush blades will proc, giving you both more sustain and more AoE, allowing you to clear the jungle faster. So yeah, skill order is another basic thing. I max ult when available, Q when possible, E over that, or ult over Q over E over W, so you increase the amount of crowd control you have. Your spell shield does its job at level 1, so there's no reason to get it higher. Whereas your Q consistently scales both in movement speed and attack damage, so it increases your damage output by a ton and your clear potential. Let's see. I play Nocturne very farm heavy. That's another reason I really like running the attack speed. I almost always farm to level 6 before I end up making plays happen, because his ult is just ridiculously strong. Like, it drags people into fighting you. Like, they're forced into fighting you from a long distance away. It's like, you can be out of vision and just engage on someone immediately to make them start fighting you, and put your fear tether and spell shield on, and they won't be able to get you off, and then eventually they're going to obviously be feared and probably dead by the end of it, assuming your laners follow up or you have enough damage yourself or whatever. So I like it waiting for his ult before I make things happen. A lot of people choose to use Nocturne as like an early game duelist, which is fine. That's something that he's very good at. But it's typically, in my view, safer just to rely on the farm itself, let your laners be a little passive until you hit 6, and then make things happen. And this right here, this gank called bot, is an example of how I messed up the gank, but it can still work out. I actually didn't spell shield in time, and Vayne condemned me. I was fixing to proc my spell shield as she threw out her condemn, but obviously as her cast is faster than, well, not obviously, but her cast is faster than my reflexes. I wish they weren't. I wish I were like a professional like Balls from C9 or something, but I'm not that good. So yeah, she ends up condemning me back. It doesn't matter because I managed to get a Fear Tether onto Lulu after, and she has to flash, but red buff slows her enough where she's dead. But yeah, it's still inconvenient that's how the way it happened. Now I'll get into builds. This game I'm building as a bruiser brawler Nocturne, which I think is really strong at carrying the game. I consider this stronger than Blast Cannon Nocturne because his ability to duel, if he has armor or magic resist, is greatly increased, because if other people aren't able to just flat out lifesteal as you hit them hard, like if you hit Vayne really hard, but she has a lot of lifesteal, it doesn't matter because she's going to hit you harder just because of the nature of crits and her kit. And if you have armor, that negates a ton of it, and also if you have magic resist, like fighting against Nidalee or something. So I built a Bruiser Nocturne. I consider that my viable carry build. Like, a lot of people like building Nocturne either straight damage or straight tank, which is fine. Both of the ways work. It's just I think it's a lot safer to be able to, like, I think it's better to be able to take blows and deal blows than just to deal really heavy blows without taking many, or to take a ton of blows without dealing many. So, I don't know. I just find the balance better. A lot of people would disagree, and that's fine. So this game, you can tell I've gotten the Spirit of the Ancient Golem. That's because of A, cooldown reduction, B, health, C, mana and health regen, and D, increased damage to monsters, as if you really need to know all that. But, yeah, that's why I do it. A lot of people would claim that it's dumb that you could get the Spirit of the Elder Lizard for more raw damage, and it also gives the cooldown reduction. And while this is true, I find tenacity to be such a valuable perk, because even though I'm pretty good about using the spell shield to block the most dangerous of crowd control effects coming at me, it is often true that I manage to mess it up by like a second or two, or like 0.1 seconds, or 0.2 seconds, or 0.01 seconds, and I ended up getting crowd controlled, and then I have wasted my spell shield. So I still go into the tenacity region for that purpose. I guess now is a good point in the video to get into the pros and cons of Nocturne. And luckily, he has a lot of pros, not many cons, but they're still there, so they're worth getting into. And this is the kind of region that if you're either trying to play as Nocturne, this will help you develop your playstyle the most, like what you want to do with Nocturne. Like, you can choose what you want, but this is just the things that his kit in general is strong for. And this is something that if you're wanting to play against Nocturne and just kind of figuring out how he works so you can beat him, you can use this area to pick on his weaknesses, and I'll start on it. Some of the pros, he can be built in a lot of ways. Like, he has a lot of build variety. He can either be built straight tank, straight damage, hybrid, bruiser. Like, he has every option. So, whereas a lot of champions like Tryndamere, you're basically locked into building straight damage, and if you don't build straight damage, you're not very useful because you don't offer crowd control. Nocturne does offer good crowd control with his ult and his E. His E, although it isn't that great in terms of what it does, like the amount, like the lock-on utility of it, makes it difficult to use properly all the time because people can flash out. And in the same notion, his ult is a really long cooldown, but it's still, he's a really strong dive champion because his spell shield prevents people from crowd controlling him out for a little bit. His ult is a lock-on, so he automatically jumps to the target. And his E is hard crowd control. Even though it's not that reliable, consistent, or whatever, it is hard crowd control nevertheless, which means that if you're diving their back line, you will either cause a shit ton of disruption and require their tanks to come back, cause a shit ton of disruption and kill their carries, or cause a shit ton of disruption and almost kill the carries and make them run away. And any of those is fine, because if you are distracting their tank line, that means that your back line, your AD carry and AP carry are not being rushed, and that means that they can just output consistent damage in the fight, which hopefully means you win the fight. Another pro of Nocturne is that he farms well, especially if you're running attack speed and the runes, because of his passive and the Q proc. But regardless whether you run armor pen or attack damage, he does have 2 AoE things in his Q and his passive, and that makes his farming very viable. So he can farm quickly till 6 and then make things happen, like I did this game. Like, before 6 I was like 0-0-0, and then as soon as I hit 6, it became 1-0-1, and then so on after that. Every time I got my ult, I managed to get either a kill or blow summoners or something. And that gets into the next point. He is one of the best gankers in the game at 6. He has one of the longest range engages. It's automatic, like you click R and then you click on that person, you go to that person, and it prevents the enemies from knowing where you're going. Like, if I'm going top, if I'm ganking top, bot lane doesn't know that I'm ganking top. They think that they can know that I'm ganking either mid or top, but they don't know which. And mid lane, if I'm ganking top or bot, doesn't know which way at all I'm going, unless I've passed a ward on my way up there, which is unlikely because, well, most people don't ward very deep at this elo. But later elos, yeah, you'll have trouble getting ganks off in some ways, and you'll have to stand in creative spots around the mid lane to really bring out the fullest potential of your ganks. Another pro of Nocturne is that he's a really good early duelist. Like, he's not that good of an early ganker because he doesn't have a true gap closer. Like, Lee Sin is a really good early ganker, and Shaco, because they have free gap closers and like lots or like minimal but noticeable crowd control, so you can bring a lot of damage with those champions as well to the gank. Nocturne has a lot of damage early, not a way to get to people entirely. His Q is a movement speed buff, but it's still like hard to get fully into the range to get your fear tether sometimes. But he's hard to be counter dribbled to make up for that. So like a Lee Sin or an Udyr wouldn't really be able to kill him. Maybe they can run him off a buff or something, but it'd be very hard to actually outduel and kill a Nocturne in the jungle. And this is the last point, which I already kind of touched on his pros. His ult is like a broken mechanic. Like, his ult is like Kale's ult. Not in the way it's played, but his ult in the way that Kale's ult is considered a broken mechanic and just an anti-fun mechanic. Nocturne's ult is like that. It's a darkness. It removes vision and sight of all wards, all allies' vision, and even reduces the player's sight themselves. So for example, if I ult and then go onto their carries, and their carries think, oh wait, this is embarrassing. Yeah, I used my ult right there, and I go to Galio, but I didn't realize that he was almost back, so I ended up just wasting my ult. But it's okay, because I had a blue buff, so it's only like 70-second cooldown. But that's still retardedly annoying. Back to what I was saying. If I use an ult and dive through their carries, and their tanks don't know where I am, or their frontline doesn't know where I am, and they're trying to peel, but they predict that I went right, and they go left or something, then they just wasted a lot of time and have now positioned themselves poorly and probably wasted cooldowns going to the wrong spot to not even manage to save their carries. So that's another big deal about Nocturne's ult. Also, it can be used as really good disengage. Most of the time, you're going to want to be using it for engage just because it does damage if you actually use it the second time. But sometimes it's possible that you just don't want to go in. And if you pop your ult and the enemy team has skill shots, it becomes a lot harder to hit because most of the time they'll have to shoot the skill shots blind. And that means that they'll normally miss, and if they miss their skill shots, they can't engage. So, especially against champions like Lux with a bind, like if Lux throws out a bind in the middle of a Nocturne ult, it's almost guaranteed that she's going to miss because she can't see. So, now, I'll get into some cons of Nocturne. One of them is that to actually carry a game, he's very farm dependent. Like, a lot of champions have really good base stats, and a lot of champions scale well. Nocturne is more of the champion that scales well with items than he is the champion with base stats. That's why I choose not to build him straight tank, even though he does offer a lot of utilities straight tank. But his damage is kind of mitigatable. Yeah, it can be ignored. Most tanks, or most AD carries late game can just lifesteal through him. Unless he manages to get the full fear tether off, in which case he becomes a very strong dive buddy. Another weakness is that his ganks are weak before 6 because he doesn't offer a gap closer, like he doesn't have a Jin Zhao E or a Jarvan EQ or something. Another issue is that even though he's not mechanically difficult, he is rather weird in that he has this spell shield, which is a not very common way. Like, it's not a common part of the game. Like, only a couple of champions have spell shields, but they are kind of interesting. Like, they block crowd control and stuff, but they're hard to time. At least Nocturne's is. Like, Sivir's and Nocturne spell shields are both hard to time, because if you time it a little bit early, it's not going to do its job. And if you time it a little late, it's not going to again, it's not going to block the crowd control, which has already hit you. And the last con is that he doesn't have much crowd control. His ult is great disorientation, but it's not technical crowd control, and his E isn't very consistent. A lot of people can roll out of it, flash out of it, and stuff like that. So consider those things when you're playing Nocturne. As you can tell, the game just ended. I ended up 3-1 and 10. I died once because I actually misclicked on my map, and I pathed poorly, and I went back into Galio, and then Rengar flash E'd me, and Galio flash taunted me, so yeah, that was a thing, and that was rather annoying, but what you're seeing now is a couple of my other videos. One of them is a Doran's Blade Lee Sin review, and the other is a, I'm not sure because I haven't decided yet, but it'll be there. And if you guys could check those out if you like this video, that'd be great. Also, like, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll try to get content out to you guys soon. And again, this was a Nocturne carry/bruiser guide from the jungle. Consider my advice in building your own way. You can definitely change things up. I'm by no means the best Nocturne player in the world, but good luck in solo queue, and I'll see you guys later.